For this exercise, we are going to explore creating patterns in AI and rendering in colors. The previous two exercises we've been rendering in grayscale. Alright, understanding the tonal values, your highlights, your shadows, and all. Okay, the first thing that you need to do is to bring the image into AI. Make sure it's in RGB A3 size. So we will start with the top view first. How do you get this shape? So you have 151 here and 40 here, right? So what I do, I just click my rectangle tool, input the number here, 151, 40. Okay, option 1, you can always drag if you are tracing, which is not a good habit to follow. Option 2, you can always double click, it will pop up the transform. If you can't see the so-called the options and all, you can always click here. Alright. Um, for me, I will use, make sure it's locked here. I will use 1. Okay, let me just bring it over inside so that you can see how the shape is like. So that's how I create my base shape, right? 151. And now onto the renderings. If you notice on your top right, there are the tonal values which I have dropped inside. All this, right, means this gradient there is only two values, which is the 180, 00, and 22900. You can create this palette first and then just do eyedropper. Okay, so now we are going to start with rendering the top view. Always remember, it's the same as your rectangle exercise. You need the highlights here and you need the shadow here. Make sure when you do the shadow falls within the profile here, and the highlights too. Okay, let me just show you. Let's say for example, I pull out all my gradients. Okay, let me just pull every single thing out so that you can see. Okay, the base gradient, right, is the tonal value here, which is the 22900 and 18000. The gradient itself, if you can see, is 45, about 45. Yeah, it's angular. So once I done that, I will do my, let's say for example, we bring in the highlights first. It's very similar to the rectangle one exercise. If I were to show you my gradient, which is here, I have, let me just drag this so that you can see. I have two. One is full white, the other one is full RGB 0 with the transparency set to highlight 60. The reason why is that I want to capture the highlights only. And let's say for example this is in 100, it will give me too harsh. Let me just put it inside so that you can see. It's too harsh, it's too white, and you create this hotspot. So I want a 60. Okay, so once, let's say for example, I have that ready, what I can do is to copy, Control C, paste it in front, Control F, and then I can shift it. Let's say for example now it's 180. Okay, let's say for example we can use the right now. Okay, let me just double check again. If you are not so sure, you can always pull your gradient to the side here. Okay, take a look. Let's say for example, so that you can work very fast. Okay, so now let's say for example we have the highlights out already. My next will be my shadows, right? So let me just delete this and I can do something quick here so that you can see. What I will do here is that I can just work directly from this layer. I will just Control C, Control F again. Right now I'm in screen mode. I need a multiply mode. So within the multiply mode, so let's say I do right now is 90. Let's say we do a minus 90 so that you can see. So within here itself, let me change my value to white, because why? I need to knock out my white, and then the next one I need a full black. Can you start to see the shadows coming in? Okay, let's say let me just unlock some. Some files. Hold on, yeah. Okay, my multiply mode is in 50%. So from here, let's say for example you done yours already. The multiply is in 50, 60. You drop to 50. Okay, let's say for example the multiply is too much. You can adjust from your gradient bar itself, or as I mentioned, you can just press G and then directly adjust from here. Okay, this is the fastest method using copy paste. You can also do another method which is directly controlling the uh, so-called the rate gradients itself. So now I've done my top, my sides here. I'm left with one more here, right? So I just copy paste it on top again. So right now what I need to do is I need to shift it to, let's say for example 0. Okay, once I have it 0 here, double check, press G. Right now your gradient bar end until here. You can bring it slightly inside if you want, and then um, zoom in slightly so that you can see, and tweak it from your gradient. Okay, let's say for example here is good enough. So there you have it. Just by copy pasting, you create your body fast. Okay, once you have your body, you need to trace out the buttons. For me, how I trace is that let me just push this one side here so that you can see, and then let me copy another one more set here so that you can see. You need a set of shadows. Let me just work on one first. Okay, for me I will trace out the shape. Okay, let me just pull out all this and just push this back in place. So let's say for example I trace a circle, I drop in my gradient. So what I can do next is to offset. Okay, let me just go to my object, go to path, go to offset path. You can hold on, yeah. Let me just double check. My offset is about close to a 0.3. Okay, you can make it slightly bigger if you wish, depending. You can just double check. I'm just going to keep it to 0.3. So once I have a 0.3 here, right? Remember when you have a scoop light, okay, the bottom here is always lighter than here. So if you want to have a button, which is something like that, right? What you need to do after you offset is to just rotate it the other way around. It will still be a little bit uh, off a little, but what you can do next is to, let me just Control C, Control B. Control C, Control B is to copy and paste behind. Let me just pull out my, okay, let me just change to multiply so that you can see. So this is let me just double check. Okay, so this is actually the gradient here. Alright, let me just pull this out again. My Gaussian blur is 1.4. So let's say for example if I release it, I can, let me just do a quick eye drop, right? Okay, this color is 119 17 23. If you if you want to follow. It's in the multiply 80. So let me just change to 100 so that you can see. Okay, let me just copy paste. So make sure this one change to normal, if not you can't see any different. Okay, let me just do a quick eyedropper again. Okay, so this one is under normal 160. Okay, never mind. If it's slightly confusing for you, right, just eyeball it. Right now I'm under multiply 60, and then I need to go to my blur, Gaussian blur. Just now I put about 1.4. You can try 2 also if you want. So let's say for example now I created my first round button. Let me just delete this. If it's too much of a shadow, you can always drop the values. So let's say for example I now drop to 4. The offset, right, do not have to be so far. Let me just double check my. Okay, right now my offset just now is about 1 mm each. I can always use my arrow button and then adjust. Okay, so there you have your circle button. How do I create my. Let me just take out all this so that it's easier for you to see. Let me just delete this also. So let's say for example after you, it's the same principle here. Whatever this gradient is, right, I can always copy paste here, copy paste here. Alright, so once I done that, I can always go to my object, blend, um, sorry, path, offset path, about 0.3 will do for me. Okay, I do again, object, path, offset path, about 0.3. You can try slightly bigger. Okay, my offset is in rounded. If you do not want rounded, you can always change. Okay, always remember, let's say for example you are done already with this. So let's say let me just delete the same thing. I select both, I copy, I paste behind, Control B, and then I will move it by pressing my arrow button. I drop the first so-called value, and then go to my object, sorry, go to effects, blur, Gaussian blur. I can use a 0.2. Okay, let's say for example you want to keep adjusting the shadow placement. You can just select the shadow and then move it. Let's say for example once that done, if it's still too high, you can drop it a notch down. Okay, so that's how you create your uh, top view with the radius, the highlights, the shadows, the buttons. The button you need to trace. Okay, this you can just use a circle, rectangle. For this shape, right, I just use the same one here. Let me just change the color for you to see. So what I do next, right, is to copy, paste in front, Control F, and then I just rotate. So these two is separate piece. What I can do is to go Windows. I can go to Windows. Let me find my Pathfinder. Alright, Pathfinder, and then just unite them. So that's how I have my plus. So next we're going to try the creating patterns. Before we create patterns, you need to start to do the body. It's the same process. Take note of where your highlight is here. Take note where is your shadows. The same thing here again. Highlights, shadows. And then in the next video, I'm going to cover how you create the top buttons, the detailings.